Does it feel like your teams are living in two worlds? Let's finally bridge the gap between systems with the SharePoint connector for Confluence. Easily integrate content from one system into another, improve productivity, and take teamwork to the next level. As a leading Atlassian and Microsoft partner, Communardo crafts apps that empower teams to work smarter. Visit the marketplace today and discover a powerful new way to bring your SharePoint and Confluence teams together.
Hi, my name is John May, and I'm a solution architect with Atlassian. I've got a good story for you here. Like most Atlassian stories, it starts with the team. The story follows a hero's journey as the team tackles a series of escalating challenges and awakens into a world bigger than the one they knew. We all know that high-performing teams are the backbone and foundation of a successful enterprise, but how can these teams connect to expand their effectiveness and achieve bigger results? How can they avoid a fate of becoming a local Optima and instead seek their destiny as a team that can move the needle for the business? In this presentation, we will explore these questions from the perspective of a successful team that's looking to make a bigger impact. It will first follow how teams get support from product leaders to gain autonomy in a customer-facing part of the business. We'll pause here to discuss whether any more transformation is even needed, or whether this is good enough for the given business context. Then we'll see how teams get support from portfolio leaders to improve their understanding of how their work impacts the business. A wrap-up will then show how an enterprise aligns the teams to improve the flow of value across the overall enterprise. Let's start the journey. Come on out on the driveway. New teams love an origin story that begins in the garage. We'll call this the small project team stage. Even if the team doesn't literally start in the garage, any new team working on a new product or a new idea within a large enterprise can often feel the same sense of excitement, purpose, and isolation. Hey, look, we built something. Hello, hello. Building something that works is always a real success story. And Jira Software really helped us when we suddenly had to work in our own garages instead of just one. But now we want to share our excitement with others. But we face a hurdle. It's difficult to communicate your successes and new vision to the other teams or other parts of the organization. How much visibility is there across the enterprise? Despite these pain points, the word's gotten out. How do we know? Because the team is growing. We call this next growth stage the large project team. As the product takes shape and receives rave reviews, the team grows from around 10 people to say 30 or 40 people, and a plan for the future starts to emerge. Do we need an office? Can we go to an office? No office? All right, well, how should we collaborate? What are our common workflows? With a lot of hard work and some informal communication patterns, the team continues to build great things. And adding Confluence into the mix really helped us improve communications and transparency, both inside the team and outside the team. But now they're struggling to coordinate all of this good work happening across the larger team. Meetings are longer now. Communication consumes more of the day than it used to, so the development time, the fun part, keeps shrinking. Team dynamics don't feel as good as they used to. And people in some roles are really struggling with the cognitive load of staying on top of all the changes happening across the larger team. We can't keep growing this way. It's not just your gut telling you that things were better out in the garage. Operational research has shown that small, empowered teams with a clear mission are more effective and have more fun. We will call this the temporary agile teams supporting a project stage. Now, that's a mouthful, but the distinctions are important, and you'll see why shortly. A project delivers better results when you iterate in tight feedback loops. So first, let's break up the large teams into small agile teams, having less than 10 people on each team. Then let's employ some proven agile methods like Scrum, which introduces 2-week sprints for planning and daily stand-ups for coordination, or Kanban, which makes all the team's work visible up on a common board where the team can watch their work items flow from the left side to the right side as they move through steps from new, we just put it up there, to we're done. These new practices dramatically improve our discipline and our ability to deliver as a team. Our Agile teams are crushing it now, and the Atlassian team playbook helped us introduce some powerful new team behaviors into our new way of working. But cross-team communication and coordination is now the hot issue. The team boundaries have led to many dependencies as we plan and as we execute. We're starting to question the way that we formed our teams. And as the project is nearing its end date, word is that the teams are going to be broken apart and people will be reassigned to new projects. Also, the product's in beta testing now, yay! But as the customers get their hands on the early releases, some bugs are coming in, and our teams are being asked to work on those too. Ugh. And wait, are we really getting reassigned into another project next week? Our next move is to minimize waste by improving the continuity of the team. That is, let's not make these high performers go back to reforming and restorming somewhere else. Let's make these teams a permanent thing, or at least long-standing in time, and build on the trusting relationships we have with our teammates. We call this long-standing Agile teams supporting projects. Let's confirm that they'll continue to drive changes together in the months that follow. They can also start to take more responsibility for the delivery of the new software out into the field to customers, and then directly handle the issues that customers subsequently find. We call this extension of our developers into delivery operations, DevOps for short. And we see the team taking even more pride in their work as they actually see customers using the software and realizing the value. The teams are happy, and that shows in the results. We continue to crush it. The product's getting a lot of attention now, both in the marketplace and inside the company. Other parts of the organization are now asking us for opinions on the future of the product. We started using advanced roadmaps to help us share our view of the future with the project managers. We really like building and sharing this backlog of changes that we think we're going to pursue next. But all these project managers keep knocking on our door, competing for our attention, and telling us they have even more things that we need to go change on the product. And get this, sometimes we don't agree with these proposed changes. Our teams are being asked to do a lot, and they can't do it all. It feels like something has to give. So our next move is to align our teams more closely with what they're developing, usually specific products or solutions or services. We call this long-standing Agile teams supporting products. Let's offer the teams some support now in the form of a product manager or two. These product managers can solicit the ideas for the roadmap and prioritize the competing needs coming in from across the business. This is now either a single team, think of it as one boat, or maybe a team of teams, a few boats in a fleet heading the same direction. But they're directly accountable for the success of the product, and they own the execution plans for the product. It feels good. We've got a clearer mission and the autonomy to pursue it. We now bring in Jira Align to help our product managers share how the work done by the teams aligns with the projects and the overall business strategy. While our teams can talk about what we're building both today and tomorrow, stakeholders are starting to ask uncomfortable questions about how the work will improve the business. And between the incoming bugs, the new features, and the compliance changes that we have to complete, there's just not enough time or people to satisfy everyone anymore. We've worked so hard to align these teams to the product vision. Why doesn't this feel better? The reason is that we've just landed our boats on a beautiful island, but they're just islands in the stream. That is what they are. And like the 1982 Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton ballad says, and they rely on each other. From our island, we begin to see our dependencies on the other nearby islands, like when we need their help before we can load up our cargo and send it downstream to customers, so to speak. We're starting to uncover these deeper connections across the enterprise. But this island is so nice. We've come so far since our time in the garage. Isn't this good enough? But when Kenny asked the musical question, how can this be wrong? It gets us thinking. It does feel like there might be more out there. Is our journey really done? Can I trust Kenny Rogers? What are the options? As enterprises grow up and adapt to the changing world, they end up having these feelings and asking these questions.
Who would you rather be friends with, Bowie or Kenny Rogers?
Would anybody really prefer Kenny Rogers and his vision of islands in the stream? But do they survive in the long run? How should we decide between David Bowie and Kenny Rogers? Well, if individual islands can create value and load it up on the boats to deliver the value for the business, all without needing any help from anywhere off their island, then islands in the stream might really be your jam. But when the islands need to work together to deliver value, it might make more sense for the cargo boats to load up just once instead of stopping and waiting at every island. In those cases, we might want to connect those islands to allow teams to better organize around the value creation. But making these connections can be difficult, and David Bowie knows you well. You don't want to go out, you want to stay in, get things done. You say the planet Earth is blue, and there's nothing you can do. But there is. This is a hero's journey, remember? And we can be heroes. Okay, you're now the imaginary leader of a set of teams that recently landed on the island. You probably have some questions like, all right, so you mentioned that streams can be tributaries into larger rivers. Does it matter where my island sits on the map? I know that the water carries my cargo to its destination, but honestly, I've been more focused lately on what we're building on land. And now that you mention it, yeah, I've noticed that the water levels are rising. When I got here, we could go whitewater rafting out there and see all the rocks along the way. Now it feels like the teams are working with one foot in the water. What's driving that? Big picture, I totally get that we're trying to flow orders from the business downstream through this larger river. What can help me shift my focus from the work happening on the islands to the cargo being delivered by the boats? Great question, imaginary leader. To answer that question, let's quickly introduce the concept of lean portfolio management, which offers a foundation for the next scenario in this journey of transformation. At a very high level, portfolio management helps an enterprise, one, dynamically put money where the strategy needs it, think adding new teams where appropriate. Two, prioritizing competing investment opportunities from the perspective of the business. And three, shift the discussion from the delivery of work outputs to the delivery of business outcomes. Sound promising? Let's explore it. Our next move is to improve the alignment of our teams to the needs of the business. No surprise, we call this long-standing Agile teams delivering value to the business. Now remember, sometimes the things we build in our teams are part of a much larger story. It could be part of a supply chain or an operational value stream. In these contexts, we usually have to think a lot harder about how to explain how our work makes an overall impact. To help, let's add the support of a portfolio leadership team to the set of product managers that are driving the product roadmaps. They will help clarify the economic model that we use to justify why we do the work and to support difficult trade-off decisions on the opportunities in the backlog. We're now in a much better position to explain how our work helps the business. We've expanded our use of Jira Line to support our portfolio leadership teams. And even more importantly, teams in Jira software can now get more detail into why they're doing the work. Our conversations have shifted from, when will you be done? To, hey, what does it look like so far? Or even, what improved measurements are we seeing as a result of your completed work? However, we're seeing that the pace of change in the market and in the world in general is relentless. And sometimes a strategy that was sound in January can seem hopelessly out of touch by April. Our annual corporate budgetary planning exercise seems like a worthless pageant, some relic of the 20th century. We've come to the end of our journey. It's a place we can now envision, but few teams ever set foot there. We call it the connected enterprise. Here we define, revise, and transparently share the desired outcomes for the business, and teach leadership to let go of the planning and instead offer support for decentralized decision-making. Teams are now offering input on strategy shifts and can ask for additional budget when the needs arise. We clearly feel we're moving faster and adapting to market needs more effectively. Teams are empowered with more and more decision-making authority, an authority that they begin to take as their understanding of the why continues to grow. Leadership is now talking about the overall operating system of the enterprise. They use Atlassian's enterprise insights to study how value gets delivered by the teams and seek ways to improve the composition and the structure of the teams to improve the overall flow. When systemic bottlenecks are identified, leadership teams sponsor changes in the common workflows and the teaming structure that define the enterprise operating system. Now, while we'll never be fully, completely, truly optimized, since by definition, there's always new ways to seek perfection, you got to admit, still, this feels pretty good. And business leaders are telling us that we're leaving the competition in the rearview mirror. Quite the journey, no? Okay, so let's review. We saw how a small project team organically grew in size and reached out to other teams to form ad hoc networks of relationships. These teams were then turbocharged with Agile methods, then given permanent residency on their respective products. With this permanent responsibility came new needs, and we added some leadership support in the form of product management, which let product managers focus on roadmaps across the upcoming quarters, while the teams focused on adopting DevOps principles and practices. When we realized that customers of the business expect value for their money, not just our latest products, we added some more leadership support in the form of portfolio management. They helped coordinate the intake of new investment opportunities and then collect the new ideas on how to drive changes to improve the business. With effective portfolios across the enterprise, we started to treat ourselves as a complex adaptive system, one that fuels the execution in the teams via their funding. And the funding comes from strategic needs of the business. This improved our business agility in measurable ways, and that helps us win against the competition. But if a journey like this starts with a single step, where is my first step? How would I ever get started? Well, we call this evolution of the enterprise operating model a transformation, or sometimes the agile scaling of high-performing teams. The term scaling, though, can be confusing because large organizations are often scaling with Atlassian products in two different directions at the same time. Now, in this view here, the horizontal axis, that's the direction that shows the scaling of new users on the Atlassian platforms and products like Jira Software. With this kind of scale comes challenges in server size, data tenancy, et cetera, many of which can be alleviated with the move to cloud. The vertical axis is the direction that shows the scaling of business value received from the Atlassian platforms overall. As more of the teams in the enterprise are connected and aligned to the enterprise strategy, the enterprise will see more value. So let's do another review, but this time across these two directions of scaling. First, a small project team improves visibility of their work using tools like Jira and Confluence as they grow into a larger project team. The teams embrace Agile methods and to introduce new workflows and planning techniques. This increases the value to the business. See, new visibility comes in, the teams can now work out of sprints, and that translates into better insights for project leaders. Here, though, we face an inflection point. Some people in the organization begin to recognize that there's a trade-off between giving the teams full autonomy on creating whatever workflow they need whenever they want to, and the ability of the enterprise to improve visibility across the teams. Introducing what we refer to here as scaling champions to manage these trade-offs is usually a good idea at this step in the journey. With the introduction of a team of scaling champions, a set of consistent team practices can emerge. Practices that balance the needs of the teams with the needs of the enterprise. Teams also get running faster as a secondary benefit, and communities of practice can start to thrive. With this standardization, we can more easily create teams of teams that align with products or other vehicles of value. And these new leaders help clarify the vision and clear impediments for all the teams. As the horizontal scaling across the teams reaches into more businesses, those businesses find new leaders to help align priorities for the teams and help them align better to business value. Finally, with the connected enterprise, the operating model can be tuned to adapt as frequently as is needed to win in the competitive marketplace. This vertical scaling of value needs the horizontal scaling to fully connect the enterprise. But horizontal scaling alone can't realize the full value of the investment in the platform. Both are essential to form the connected enterprise. Hope you enjoyed our story. Good luck on your own journey, and thanks for listening. If you have questions, join me for a Q&A on the Atlassian community, which you can reach from the Team 21 site. Thanks again.